Cool, so the marketing landscape. So the three things that are going on when we're looking at marketing is we're trying to attract people. Once we've attracted them, we want to find a way to nurture them, and then we might want to find ways to kind of cross-sell to them. So this is by no means a definitive list of all the ways that you can attract, nurture and cross-sell. But when we're talking about attract, that's what we're doing with SEO. We're trying to attract people to our website. Now, the really important thing about your website is there's no point in doing any of this unless you've got a good website that is right for your audience, that's going to help convert people. Now, you've got some great talks coming up later today that's going to talk about that a bit more. Luke in particular is going to be talking about that kind of topic and making sure that your website's going to work hard for you. So don't even consider anything that I'm talking about until you're happy that you've got your website working how you need to and that it's actually going to convert users. I'll try and get rid of that bar, no. So, the search landscape. So we've got active people and we've got passive people. So what do I mean by that? So active is our people coming in via search engine optimization or via paid ads. But this is from a keyword point of view. So these people, there isn't a fisher jumping at the man. You are typing in the key phrase that you're looking for, you're telling Google and you're telling that company that you're interested. So you're actively searching for that topic. Passive, and this is by no means a definitive list again, is going to be all of your kind of social channels where you've got ads and all the different ways that you're going to be targeting people via demographic or by interest, things that you know about them and you're trying to pull them in. And you'll get some of them, but you won't get all of them, but you're trying to have a shared interest with them to sell them your service or your product. And then in the middle, we've got the chance to kind of retarget people between the two. So we might have found them when they were active, we've got them into our lists, we're able to kind of remarket to them later on or retarget them onto other products. So we're going to concentrate today on search engine optimization. A few kind of differences between SEO and PPC, so paid search. So SEO is about a long-term investment. So if you're sitting here today hoping that you've got an idea of, or you're going to be able to walk away with something that you can do for your Christmas marketing campaign, definitely don't think about SEO. You're far too late. We can't do that for this year. So SEO is going to take time, whereas paid search, you could definitely get something set up and going. There's loads of different bits there, which I won't run into all the details, but you've got those to look at later. But SEO, the big important thing is this is a long-term investment. So when we're talking about the search engines, yeah, you can't see at the bottom of the screen there, the actual search engines. So the first one, have a guess, market share in the UK, who do we think it might be? Google, yes, we're right. So Google comes first. I can't actually even see from here which ones they are. So I think next one will be Yahoo. No, Bing, sorry. Bing, Yahoo, then MSN, and then DuckDuckGo. Any DuckDuckGo users out there? A few of you, yeah. It is growing, it's definitely growing. It's one to go and have a look at if you've not heard of it before. But that's why for this talk today we're really going to focus on Google, because Google is our main audience. So the algorithms, so all the search engines work via algorithms, and there's multiple algorithms at play. So we've got things like a local algorithm working, we've got news algorithms, we've got a general algorithm that's just going to be pulling out the natural results. And what the search engine is trying to do is work out the intent behind the user. So to give you an example of how difficult that might be, are we going to be all right? Maybe not. I know what the slide says. So the slide has got three different examples of the word change. So you might want to find out how to change a light bulb. You might want to find out how to change your money. And so we might be looking at replace. So change as in replace or change as in exchange. And there was a third one, which is going to be a problem if we don't have our slides. But yeah, so you could use the same word to mean different things. So Google's got to try and understand context, which is a really hard thing to get out of a phrase. And that's why we've got to make sure when we're building our websites and putting content on our websites, we're adding as much context as we possibly can to make it clear and help Google and then help the user that when they're searching to be able to understand what we're looking for. Luke is saving the day, technical assistance. So the next slide, helpfully, is personalization. So the other thing that you might notice that's going on nowadays when you search online is Google is starting to store information about you. And also Google knows things, so it knows where you are, it knows where you're based. So if we did a search here right now and we searched for, I don't know, takeaway dinners, we would probably get some really local results at the very top because Google's going to know from our IP address where our location is. The other things that are going on from a personalization point of view is just remembering over time your search history. So especially if you're logged into your Google account, Google's going to be storing that information and helping to use that to show the right results that it thinks right for you. So actually, gone are the days where you could go onto Google, you could search a phrase relevant to your business, see that you're in position 3, and know that actually everyone in the world's definitely going to see you at position 3, because they're not. We could all literally pick up our phones on a 4G connection, do a search, and see different results. So personalization is really important to be considering and thinking about, because it means that you don't necessarily know where you're going to be ranking anymore. So you really need to make sure that you're getting the content right and that you're getting the best chance of being in the right positions. Lovely. So the returning the right results. So Google's got lots of different ways now that actually it shows search results. So for example, you've got the shopping results, you've got the map, you've got branded information, you've got direct question answers as well that Google puts on screen. So there's lots of different ways that Google is able to show the user the results. Are we back on? We've got some examples here just of, and we all know what the search results look like. I think the next slide is a useful one to show. So this shows position 0. So I don't know if everyone will know what I mean by position 0, but it's where Google's pulled out a snippet that it puts right at the top for you. So this is like the holy grail in the world of SEO. If you can get a position 0 ranking, then you are loving life, because actually you might be actually in position 5 or 6 on the page, but Google has found the answer to that person's question on your website and thinks that it deems it most important to pop it right at the top. Because actually what Google's trying to do more and more these days is to actually stop people even leaving the search results page. So, I mean, that, I don't know the statistic off top of my head, but the stats are rising for how often people can actually find the answer that they're looking for before they even click through, and then they leave because they've got what they were looking for. So those position 0 rankings, to get those is all about kind of having question and answer content on your website. It's not always question and answer related, but that can be one way of trying to get that there. Having tables or ordered lists on your website, having those marked up, so if you're able to get HTML markup or schema markup on your website that helps the search engines understand what that content is, that's a really good, useful way of getting into those positions. So position 0 is a strategy, and it's one that we actually do quite a lot of Reflect Digital to help try and get our clients there if we're able to. Woohoo, we're back on. Thank you, tech support. So that's position 0. This is what I was talking about for local versus general SEO. So if you look here, Pizza Restaurant Kent, this was done at our office in Maidstone, so it's pulled out pizza options in Maidstone, and then it goes on to the wider Kent results, because actually Google's thinking, I know where you are, you probably want Maidstone. Maybe I didn't, maybe I did want Kent, but it's trying to be helpful. So, SEO strategy. So as with anything in marketing, don't start doing until you've had a think about what it is that you want to do. So your business objectives are the first place you start. So at this point, you're not even thinking about marketing. You're thinking, what is it that you're trying to achieve from a business point of view? Then you're going to start trying to break that down into your marketing objectives, and you're going to have lots of different ways that you're going to be wanting to do that. Then finally, we might get on to some SEO objectives and then some KPIs against that. So bad KPIs and good KPIs. I don't know how many times I've heard the bad KPIs in client meetings. Oh, how long did people spend on our website? Or, oh, what was the bounce rate of our site? These are all things that actually don't tell you a lot, and they're not useful, because especially in this day and age, if we've done our work really well and we've managed to rank for a really good phrase, hopefully that user has landed on a page that had the perfect answer for them that they were looking for. So actually they're going to probably leave straight away because they found what they were looking for. So therefore it actually doesn't matter that they bounced. So these kind of KPIs are not going to be useful to your strategy. Instead, you need to make sure you align them to your business goals that you're looking for. So if, for example, and I'll use Reflect Digital as the example, if we were trying to work on our own SEO, and we were trying to drive traffic to the design section of our website, and we had a real big push, we wanted to sell more design work, then we would be looking at the percentage of traffic going to the design section, and we'd be looking at the percentage of inquiries from a design point of view, and those types of things are going to help tell us, actually, are we doing a good job on what we're trying to do? If we just looked at the overall site, we might be like, oh, I don't really know if it's working. So you want to look deeper and try and find statistics that may feel less impressive, but actually over time they're going to feel more impressive because you're having the right impact that's going to lead to business results. You're going to want to benchmark yourself, so we're going to talk about keywords in a minute, but you're going to want to know kind of, are you ranking for relative keywords? You are going to want to know about overall traffic and see that going up, and in particular how your organic traffic's going. But you also want to think about competitors, and really important, your online competitors. So as we've heard today, we're talking about global, we are looking globally. So you can't just think anymore of the business next door to you that does the same thing. You've got to think, who are your online competitors and who is it actually that you're competing for space with, because that's potentially very different from who physically is your competitor from a location point of view. You need to define your audience. So audience profiling, we could do a whole presentation talking about that and understanding that a bit more, and this is so important to the overall marketing mix. So thinking about who your audience are and getting to know them and knowing where they hang out online, what is it they do, what are they interested in, and how are we going to actually make them interested in what it is that you do is really important. And you might have 4 or 5 personas that you're working to attract, and then you might have different strategies for those. If you don't know where to start with audience profiling, YouGov has a free tool, very stereotypical, I'm going to warn you of that. So for example, football fan, they're all in the Northwest apparently. But it's a good starting point potentially if you've never done this before, and then you can start to build on it. But actually the easiest way to start profiling your audience is start talking to your customers, asking them questions and trying to put them into buckets that you think work for you. And it should be an ongoing thing that you're kind of always working on to make sure you have got the right understanding of your audience. Google Analytics can also help you a little bit, so it can tell you for the traffic that's coming to your site their interests. So if you don't have analytics on your website, you need it. You definitely should set it up. Also, as part of that kind of setup piece of when you're looking at your marketing objectives, you should make sure you've got the right tracking in place. So Google Analytics as a base will track visits, but there's more things you can do. You can go and set up goals, you can set up events. Google Tag Manager, if you're feeling a bit techie, is a great way to then go and manage those setups. But if you're not feeling techie, you just need to talk to whoever built your website and say, look, I want to know if someone fills in a form, where did they come from? How can I do that? And they'll be able to help you set up goals, because if you haven't got that set up, you can't track those leads back to actually see where did they come from. So you're not going to know what's working for you. And tracking is just the basis of all digital marketing. Google Trends, so free tool. At the bottom, you won't be able to see it, but when you download the slides, we've got a link, we've got a whole guide on Google Trends and how to use it, so that's something you can go and download. But that's just going to show you interest over time and give you some ideas of similar topics. I don't know why we've picked GDPR, what an awful topic. We thought we'd all got away from that word. I'm sure I won't be the last person to say it today. But anyway, so Google Trends, really, really important, a really good way of kind of starting to work out what you want to target. Keyword research. So this is where you're going to start. Once you're ready to start really thinking about your SEO, you need to start thinking, what is it you actually want your website to rank for? And you need to make sure you are thinking outside of the box and not just thinking of the terminology you know. You need to be thinking of the terminology that those users would think about. So AdWords has a keyword planner tool. Now this is only going to work well for you if you're running ads via Google AdWords, because they've actually changed it now that they don't put a huge amount of data in there unless you're running ads. But good news, we have other tools. So Answer the Public, this weird guy, yeah, he's actually moving when you're on the website. He can help you, so he can give you ideas of keywords and phrases that maybe you haven't thought of. So you literally would pop a phrase in there relevant to your business, hit search, and it's going to give you loads of different ideas of different keywords or phrases. Ubersuggest is pulling out Google keyword data. So actually, rather than using the AdWords tool, if you don't have access to the higher amount of keyword data in there, you'll get that from Ubersuggest as a website, and that's going to give you kind of the different search volumes over the months. It's going to give you ideas on different keywords. For Chrome and Firefox users, keywordseverywhere.com. So you can, this is actually a extension that you can install, and what it will do is under your search query, for every time you search, it will tell you the volume, the cost per click as an estimate, the competition, and it will give you related keywords and people always also search for, and you can export those straight to CSV, so you've got all of that data. You can also add them to a list where you can then download more of them. So if you want to do lots of searches, keep adding them and then download a big keyword list. But that's going to be great. So that's going to give you UK search volume and average cost per click if you were thinking about paid search. And the competition is up to a score of 1, and it's going to give you an idea of how competitive it is. So that's a brilliant tool. When we're thinking of keywords, short tail versus long tail. So great examples here. Short tail running shoes. That is a really broad term. We could mean anything. We could be men's, women's, kids, anything. We have no idea. So that's going to be really broad. It's going to have a really high search volume. It's going to be really competitive as well. So if you're trying to sell running shoes, you're going to struggle against the likes of Nike and whoever with that. Actually though, if you know that you've got a really great range that are perfect for running on pavements, that's going to be a much better keyword to drive traffic. It's going to be easier. And if you've got the right results for that, you've actually got the shoes ready for that as a search term, you're going to be so much more likely to convert that person. So you need to start thinking about these. The short tail are great to have as kind of big wins that you might be looking at in the future and you might be able to aspire to. But it's the long tail keywords that are going to be the ones that are going to bring you more conversions. They're going to be lower in volume, but we've actually had a client before where we took their organic traffic down, which you think, oh, that sounds like an awful idea. Why would you do that? It sounds like you're getting worse results. But their results skyrocketed because they were just appearing for the wrong terms, for the wrong people. It wasn't relevant. We managed to find the right relevant traffic for them that then allowed them to convert. So, on page optimization, we could talk all day about this, so I'm going to try not to. When you're looking at your website and your keywords, you need to be really careful of keyword cannibalization. So what we mean by that is you've just got to make sure that there is a clear page for every keyword or group of keyword variations, as opposed to the example here, we've got page A and page B were both looking for jelly babies. We don't want that because that's making it really hard for Google, because Google's like, well, which one should I rank? Too many decisions, not going to rank any. So you need to make sure that you've mapped them out correctly and you know what is the page that you want for each set of keyword variations. How do you make your pages relevant? So on page, there's so much good work that can be done from on page, and I think people sometimes forget that. So making sure that you've got at the top of the page the right kind of page title, so the meta page title, that needs to be well optimized for the page. Not spammy, and all of these bits here, we need to be really careful that we're writing for humans. Google is thinking like a human now, therefore we need to make sure that our content is written for humans and not just trying to manipulate the search engines. So your page title needs to be really relevant to what the page is, and if it makes sense to have your keyword in there, then definitely have it in there. Your meta description, the bit that appears on Google, sometimes, not always, depending on what Google's fancying to do, you can really optimize that for click-throughs. So you can put a call to action within that meta description that will show below the blue link on Google. And you may think people don't read them, but actually, subconsciously, we are reading them. So if you've got a good call to action to make someone want to click through, that's going to help. You've then got the heading tags, so for example the H1, H2, H3. Make sure whoever's built your website has set it up that you can put those in there, or you can go through and actually pop them in within the HTML. But having those really useful, firstly to the user, to help them understand and break up the content that you've got on the page, but also where possible, and if it makes sense to pop in the keywords in there, only if it's not spammy. Having a good URL structure, having relevant page title in the URL. We don't want / page ID 23, that's not going to be helpful to Google or to the user. Having a good navigation, having the right kind of, now we've got the phrase here, keyword density. This is a bit of an old graphic in that I wouldn't talk about it as keyword density these days. It would be more just having natural content, but where you can, having the keyword variations in there. So the page doesn't need to be just one keyword and just keep repeating it. It doesn't work like that anymore. Something to bear in mind as well is Google has got this thing called latent semantic indexing, which means that Google can understand what you mean. So for example, if we had a page and we talked about the sea and we talked about the sand, but we didn't say beach, Google knows we're talking about the beach. Now the point I would make is don't make it hard for Google. So if you are talking about the beach, might as well mention the beach. But you've got to remember Google does understand things, so you don't need to always lay things out if it doesn't feel like it makes sense to the user. And making use of anchor text. So throughout your content, throughout the website, you should want to link through to other sections, because that's going to help Google to see that your whole website makes sense together and they're not just silo pages that have no reason to talk to each other, but actually that the whole content matches up and makes sense. Technical. Now, this bit is where it gets a bit much. So let's try and keep it light for a Monday morning. There are so many things from a technical point of view, and we've had massive wins for clients by getting the technical right. And to most of us in the room, including myself, some of it you wouldn't even know that anyone had changed anything, and you wouldn't even think anything of it. So these are kind of the key things that Google's going to be looking at from a technical point of view, and then I'm going to really quickly run through them. These are the really wordy slides that you'll be able to go and digest a bit more later. Well, maybe not tonight, maybe another day, but if you download them. So search engines are crawling your website, and they crawl by going from link to link. So the more your pages are linked up, the better. We've got a tool, oh, it's not our tool, there's a tool in the industry that you can use, and you can use it for free, called Screaming Frog, very random name. But that's going to crawl your whole website for you. So you need to be very careful when you do this, actually, because if you don't rate limit it, it might take your website down. And it might have only taken it down for you and your IP, but the website hosting provider may have blocked it because it's like, wow, why are you sending all these requests? So that is something to maybe do with a developer and talk to someone that knows what they're doing to make sure that you're not going to take your site down. But what that will do is pull back all the different pages on your website. So, and you can actually crawl as Googlebot, which means you can see your site how Google sees your site. So a really great way to understand what Google's actually seeing. So when they crawl your site, they create this index, so they go from page to page. Google has a crawl budget, so it's not going to hang around on your website all day trying to find what it's looking for. It will have a set amount of time to crawl your site before it's going to move on. So the easier you make it to navigate around your site for a robot, the better. And it will be putting this into an index, so each time it comes back, it's not going to necessarily crawl the same pages again unless you've told it that you've got a new version of that page. So we just need to be careful from a technical point of view to make it really easy for Google. Indexation, so there's the huge index. Internal linking, I touched on it earlier. Having links that go between different pages is going to help. So the more you can link up, the better. And there's loads of different ways you can do that, and there's loads of different structures. So this, when you read this later, will give you a bit more information on that. Your navigation's going to be key for that as well, so making sure you've got a good navigation that the robots can also find their way around. Canonical tags. So this is just a way so Google hates duplicate content. So whether that's that you've nicked it from someone else legitimately for a reason, or for some reason you've got it on your website twice for a reason, a canonical tag allows you to say, Google, just so you know, I know that this content is identical to what exists here, or I know that I've nicked this from this website, there's a reason, here's the reference. So it's like the Harvard reference system for the internet. So if you're ever using someone else's content legitimately for a reason, or you've duplicated your own, you're going to want canonical tags on there so you don't get penalised. Status codes, so when you do the Screaming Frog crawl, you're going to get all different kind of status codes coming back. You want the 200 codes, they're great, that means the page is returned as expected. All the others, there's potentially an issue, or it's fine if there's a redirect in place. But these kind of status codes, if you're seeing them, you need your developer to help you fix these, because you don't want just internal server errors. That's going to make Google unhappy and not want to come back. Redirects, so this is the biggest mistake people make, especially when launching a new website, is forgetting to redirect the URLs. If you think on your website as it is currently, you've got / and all the different pages in there. If you go and launch a new website and you don't tell Google, oh, by the way, / shoes is now / running shoes, Google has no idea. It might get really fed up on that first visit. You're going to lose crawl budget, and Google's going to want to come back less and less to your site. So redirecting is a really great way of saying to Google, just so you know, this URL that used to be here is now here. And you can do that not just when you move websites, if you suddenly take a page down that you no longer want there. So, I don't know, you've got a team section and someone leaves your team, redirect them to the new team member that makes sense, or the overall team page, just so that you're not creating dead ends for Google. Sitemaps, you should have a HTML and an XML sitemap. The XML sitemap in particular is going to help Google find its way around the site. You can also have separate sitemaps for news and all things like that, but that starts to get really, really technical. As a minimum, you should have a HTML and an XML. Page load speed, this is a big thing, and we're all so impatient, everyone's impatient. We need quick loading websites. Look at this, BBC, this was yesterday, fresh score, 14 out of 100, how horrific's that? The Google are not doing well, the BBC are not doing well from a mobile point of view. You need quick loading websites, especially in this day and age when we're all on 3G, 4G connections. You want things to load quickly, and Google will give you better rankings if you load quickly. Everything should be loading in less than 2 seconds. We invest a lot of time in page speed for our clients, and you might think, oh, it's an easy thing to do, but literally a client might come to us and they might be loading it, I don't know, 8 seconds for their homepage, and to get it down to 2 seconds could be 2 or 3 days worth of work to really get everything set up correctly. It will be how the code's set up, it will be how the images are on the page, etc. There are some cheats as well and things that you can do, like if you're putting images on your website, don't just be taking them from your phone and uploading them as a huge image, because that's then being loaded and you don't need that huge image, you just need the image set for the size. So actually we'll make sure we tweet these out tomorrow. We've got some articles on how to optimize images and some free tools that you can use. There's some other sites here you can use to test your site. So Pingdom's going to tell you how fast it is as well, and Test My Site with Google is another one. All of these will give you some reports and some ideas on how you can interrogate that data and what that might mean for you. Off-site SEO, here we go. How are we doing for time? Are we all right? I'm going to rattle through. You're going to have loads of talks about content later today, so I'm going to try not to talk about what the content is, but you need to make sure it's good content before you start putting it out there. But your off-site and your off-page is all about building links. So why do we want links? Links are like a voting system. So from Google's point of view, if they say links coming to your website from another strong website, that is like a vote of confidence that, oh, this is a good website. So making sure that they're from relevant sites is really, really important though. And actually from some of the kind of PR things you could do, so even though the BBC doesn't load quickly, that's a very high authority site. So if you could get a link from somewhere like the BBC, that's going to be really, really powerful for your SEO. But equally, it might be that someone in your own niche is like a blog site and it's a really popular site, and that might be a good place to get a link from. So links need to be relevant. There needs to be a piece of content that gives a reason for them to link back to you. You can conduct a backlink analysis using Google Search Console, so you can go and set up Google Search Console for free, and it will give you all of the links that are coming back into your website, so you can check the health of them, see if there's some dodgy old links that you think, I don't even know why that's linking to me. You can go and ask websites to remove those, because that can become a problem for you, and we won't go into penalties for links right now, but you do want to make sure that you're getting good, healthy links. How do you know if it's a good website to link to you? You want a website that's actually got a social following. You want to know it's a real website that real human beings go and look at the content on. You want to see a good amount of interaction. You want to see that if they've got sponsored content, that all the links are no-follow. That is something that, again, depending on how techy you are, is quite easy to do, but come and ask me about that later if you're not sure. You want to see that they're regularly posting, and you want it to be relevant. Don't just... Gone are the days where you have a links page that just has random links to friends' websites on it. It needs to be relevant. Quick link wins for growing backlinks. So sharing content is obviously great. Broken link fixing, so you can go and search to find where people are linking to your website, or sorry, you can use the Google Search Console list to find all of those links and go and see if they still work. If any of them are broken or going to old pages, you can go and fix those. You can go and do competitor analysis. So obviously that screaming frog crawl we talked about, you could do one of those on somebody else's site, although you need to be really careful not to take their website down, because they will not thank you for that. But you can go and see who's linking to them, because if they're your competitor and they've got some really great links, that might give you a really good list to start from to go and approach those websites and say, hey, I've got this great content, I think you should link to me. So, how to keep track of links. So Moz has got a good tool for this that you can use for free. Setting up Google Alerts. If you don't have those, you should. Looking in Google Analytics, you can see those sites that are sending traffic to you. And Majestic SEO is a great tool. There is a paid-for version that's really good, but the free version will give you some information that's useful. Types of content I'll jump on from, because you're going to hear about more content later on. Quizzes is a great way. We've had great success with this, and there's a good case study on our website all about what we've done with Find 50, and we've got some more of these coming up soon. Google My Business, if you're not on there properly, get your company on there, make sure you've got your opening times, directions, encourage people to leave reviews. That's going to be really useful from an SEO point of view, because Google is trying to show those local listings. So there's more information on that there. Bing, if you fancy it, Bing Places, it's probably worth being on there though, because people are still using Bing. Tools and sites to follow. So for a full suite from an SEO point of view, we use Authoritas, great piece of software. That gives you all your rank tracking so you can see where keywords are actually showing. Search metrics, there's a nice free version of this as well so that you can see your search engine visibility and you can see a score and you can plot your competitors against it. Moz is great software. SEMrush, again, great software. These ones and Authoritas will be paid. Search Metrics does have a bit of a free tool which will give you some keyword rankings as well, so that's a good one for free. Blogs to follow, obviously put ours on there, but there's a few here that are really good, so things like Search Engine Land, SE Journal, all great blogs. The Moz blog, they do a whiteboard Friday, so you can watch a video of someone on a whiteboard telling you loads of cool things. So if you're geeky and you love your SEO, they're places to be. And I won't go through these, but you've got some information about mobile, because mobile is really, really important and you should be thinking about it. We're done. You can download all the slides from here. So just our website /Kickstart, and you can read through them in more detail.